full community. And so with you would join us for a little bit of music to get us started on this wonderful Sunday morning.
When you're losing your way, when it's too much to take, when your will is broken, I'm here. I can be your shelter, be your safe place to land. When your heart feels empty, I'm here. I have enough love for both of us. I know it's gonna be okay. I have enough love for both of us, and love always finds a way. Love always finds a way. If the future's unknown and the path's overgrown, I will cradle your soul. Don't fear, don't fear. Though you don't have the answers, may not know where to go, what you need is inside you. Just trust, and you'll know. You'll know. I have enough love for both of us. I know it's gonna be okay. I have enough love for both of us, and love always finds a way. Love always finds a way. I'm your light in the storm, I'm your call to come home, and I'm your beacon of hope. You can count on me, you can count on me. I have enough love for both of us. I know it's gonna be okay. I have enough love for both of us, and love always finds a way. Love always finds a way. I know it's gonna be okay. Love always finds a way. Love always finds a way. Love always finds. I know it's gonna be okay. Love always finds a way. I know it's gonna be okay. Love always finds a way. Be okay. It's gonna be okay. Yeah. It's gonna be okay. Love will always find a way. It's gonna be okay. 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 It's gonna be okay.
And that was the amazing Karen Drucker. And so now we're going to go ahead and move into our time of announcements. So Victoria?
Good morning. Hello, everybody, and welcome. This wonderfully cool morning. It's so great here. I'm appreciating it so much. I'd like to report that yesterday at Saturday Sandwich, our Unity outreach program to assist the homeless here in Tacoma We had a small crew, but mighty. We had a great time. We made our 100 sack lunches. The next Saturday sandwiches will be the second weekend in September due to the first weekend being Labor Day. So everybody can have a holiday. So we'll be doing it the second Saturday of September, which is the 12th. And I also want to announce our class coming up this week is on Thursday, September 13th. That's a date correction. Our flyer previously said Wednesday, the 14th, and that's confusing, so don't do that one. Do Thursday, August 13th. It'll be starting at 4 o'clock Pacific time on Zoom. Please send an email off and or contact us through the website or Facebook, and we'll get you registered so you get your Zoom link. I think the class is going to be really wonderful, called Watch Your Language, the creative power of I am. And to me, the connotation of that and what I'm expecting to see is how, if we watch our language and keep it on the positive end of things, that positivity is what's that word? It attracts positivity. So whatever we say is how things are going to be interpreted and makes a difference. And so our language is so important, not only the language we use in our written work, but also in our speech, how we converse with people, and really importantly, how we converse with ourselves. That little chattery brain that goes off in our head all the time. It can be spewing negative stuff. It can be spewing positive stuff. And so if we watch our language and turn it towards the positive, we can truly make a difference in the world. And that's what we're wanting to do. We want to make a difference in the world around us, the world as a whole, and within our own hearts and souls. Have a good week, everybody. Oh, one other thing. On the 29th of August, we're having our person-to-person get-together at the Parkland Library. We'll be meeting from 12:30 to 3:30, and we're coming together with a potluck snacks. We always have to have food, and we do food really well, and lots of hugs and conversation, and getting to see each other in person. We'll be discussing the artwork that's coming up for Faith in Action in the fall. And gosh, fall is almost here. Anyhow, enjoy the rest of summer. Have a great day. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you so much for that. So let's go ahead now and do our prayer for protection. And I'm gonna share that here so we've all got it, since we do it as a call and response. And you're welcome to respond verbally where you are, or even just quietly to yourself. So join me as we claim the truth of who we are. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And I'd like to go ahead now and take us into another piece of music, and this is by the Reverend Michael Gott down at Unity of Houston.
There was a time in my life, thought I had to do it all for myself. Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God had. You are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day. Gotta let it go. Gotta let it all go. Are you listening? You got to let it all go. And this is what you have to say. Yes, I'm only here for God. No, 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 no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, I release. I let go. Let the spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No, no, no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, I am free in the spirit. Yeah, yeah. Do you want to be free? Then let me hear you say yes. Yes, I'm only here for God.
So if that didn't get you all jazzed up this morning, I'm not sure what will. So anyway, Reverend Michael Gott, who was actually the music director there prior to getting ordained and taking over the ministry at Unity of Houston. So I love some of his stuff, and I get chills and goosebumps when I listen to some of his pieces of music. So healing from within, releasing limiting beliefs. And the beautiful part of it, this month's theme works beautifully with the class we're going to have on Thursday night. We release all of those things. We watch our language, and great introduction about the class, Victoria. And the big piece for me around that, watching your language, so much of the time, whenever we say something, it is a little bit of a clue or a window to what we're holding in consciousness. And so if we say something negative, that means there's some negativity running around up there. So it gives us an opportunity to look at it and examine it, which is what we're doing all month. We're looking at it and examining it. And so our monthly affirmation this month is, I release all limiting beliefs and embrace the healing power of divine love. I am whole, healed, and free to live as the fullest expression of my true self. Oh, can you feel that? That just kind of comes alive within us when we hold that truth. Many of us have stories about ourselves that we've repeated for years, and so they become very familiar. They become so familiar that we no longer recognize them as a story. We begin to assume that they're facts. We might say, I've never been good with money, or I'm too old to begin again or to do something new. Could be, I'm not creative, or my family's always been this way, so that's just the way it is. Maybe I've been hurt too deeply to ever really truly trust again. And when a belief has been repeated long enough, we may begin to organize our lives around it. We avoid opportunities that might challenge it, and we notice evidence that supports it, and we disregard evidence that contradicts it. So eventually, a thought that we once accepted becomes a boundary that we're afraid to cross. But what if some of the boundaries in our lives were not walls? What if they were drawn in pencil? And those lines, they could be erased and redrawn. Before we started, Denise and I were chatting, and she brought up a book that I'm a huge fan of and a teaching that I'm a huge fan of, and that's Don Miguel Ruiz's The Four Agreements. And if you remember early in that book, like in the very first chapter, he talked about domestication. He talked about how we are conditioned from the time that we're born, basically. And what happens is, as we're conditioned, as we're told things, we begin to agree that it's the truth, when in essence, it may not be. It may not be the truth at all, but we hold on to it and we say, yes, it is. Most limiting beliefs, they didn't begin because we consciously chose them. They were often developed as attempts to understand or survive, or because somebody else told us that was what was true. A child who's criticized, may decide that, I'm not enough. That nothing I can do is good enough, and all of that. And that begins to condition that individual to where they walk through life feeling like that. Maybe someone who's experienced rejection, they might decide it's safer not to be seen than to put myself out there. Maybe if we've lived through loss, it's like, if I love deeply, I can only be hurt. So I can't love people, because if I love somebody, they're just going to hurt me. And these beliefs, they may once have felt like something that we do to protect ourselves. And maybe remaining unseen, that could have reduced criticism, but it also limited the experience of life. Avoiding vulnerability might have reduced the risk, but the belief helped us navigate one season, getting through that childhood where it might be better to not be seen very much. But yet then it begins to limit us as we go through and live more parts of our life. Healing does not require us to shame ourselves for developing those beliefs. It's like, don't put yourself down because you held on to a belief that actually supported you at one point. But recognize it as that. It was a support at that time. And we can recognize that our minds, they were trying to protect us. And with that understanding that was available then. And when that happens, when we come up with that and we see a belief that really no longer serves us, but did at one time, we can thank it. We can thank that old belief for the purpose it once served. And then, as Reverend Michael Gott spoke, we release it and we let it go, because it's no longer part of what we need as individuals to move forward. And in Unity, we teach that our thoughts are creative. Our habitual patterns of thinking influence what we expect. And, they also influence what we experience. So this teaching, it has to be held with wisdom and compassion. It's not an invitation to blame people for illness or trauma or injustice or difficult circumstances. Blame doesn't heal. And Unity teaching is about thought as an invitation to recognize our spiritual agency. Probably every ministry that I've ever been involved with, I've had the experience of somebody having something going on. It may be an illness, or it may be just something going on in their family life. And I've heard another member of the community say, well, I wonder what they were holding in their consciousness to have that happen. Well, I got news for you. That's metaphysical malpractice. And I hope I don't ever hear that come from someone, because we hold beliefs because for some reason that at some point in time they served us. And there's more to it than that. It's not our place to judge or to blame what's going on in anyone else's life. We nor they may have chosen everything that happened to us, but with the support and the grace and the spiritual patience and practice, we can increasingly choose. We can choose what meaning to give our experiences, and we can choose how to move forward from it. Paul wrote, be transformed by the renewing of your minds. He didn't say be transformed by condemning your mind. Renewal begins with awareness and love. The ancient Aramaic, the word repent just meant change direction. So whenever we find ourselves in a circumstance and we're going, okay, maybe my belief about this is a little bit off, we have an opportunity to repent, to change direction and change the energy and the thoughts that we hold and we go into it with. When we notice that old thought, just question it, bring it into the light, and then consciously introduce a greater spiritual truth. Because there's a difference between fact and belief. So suppose someone said, I failed at something. Okay, that could describe an experience that they had and something in which they weren't successful in completing it or accomplishing it. That's one thing. That's about an event or a special period of time. But if that person says, I'm a failure, all of a sudden that event, that circumstance has become their identity. We'll talk about more of this on Thursday night for those of you that want to join us for the class. But if you noticed, I am a failure. As soon as you put something after the words I am, you're claiming it. It becomes the truth of who you are. And so we want to be cautious with how we say things like that. There's a difference between I made a mistake and I am a mistake. There's a difference between a relationship ended and I'm unlovable. So we want to be cautious and not use those words that put us in a box, because we know that we are divine in our creation and that we live in a field of unlimited potential. And so we want to curb all those things that limit us and keep us restricted. And that we all hit times in our lives in which we might say, I'm experiencing uncertainty in my life. I'm not sure what's going to happen. And that's a lot better to claim that than to say nothing will ever work out. I'm sure you know people that kind of lean into that type of consciousness. I know I do, and I try not to constantly be the minister and say, do you really don't think anything will ever work out? So I try not to be that person, but I want to all the time. It's like I want to say, really, so this moment is defining your whole life. Wow, that's a lot. You're giving so much power to this very moment. So I encourage us not to do that, to stop giving our power away. Spiritual healing invites us to separate what happened from who we are. Our experiences are real, and our feelings deserve to be honored. And yet no experience has the authority to define our divine identity. We remain expressions of God. We are continuously worthy and capable. We're always creative, and we are forever filled with spiritual potential. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus, our brother and way shower, met with people whose society had defined by their circumstances. Those individuals were called blind or unclean or sinful, poor, possessed, or outcast. And we're blessed by the modeling and the showing that our brother and way shower did, because he looked beyond the label and recognized the spiritual being in each one. Hence, we talk about the namaste of I see the Christ in you, or I see the divine in you. The divine in me honors the divine in you. Jesus did not deny their present experience. He didn't deny the fact that they were blind or that they were crippled, but he saw something greater within them. And it's important for us to model, and for, that we follow that model and we model that around us. Healing begins when we learn to see ourselves as Jesus saw others, not as a collection of failures or wounds or limitations, but as sacred beings in whom divine possibility is alive. When Jesus asked people, do you want to be made well? He wasn't blaming them for their condition. He was inviting them into participation. Healing included the willingness to see, to choose, to rise, and to move into a new direction. It was their experience of repenting, of changing the direction of their lives, of basically writing a new story instead of living and being trapped in that old one. And so today, I want to invite you to consider just one limiting belief. And not every belief you've ever held, just one. And then as you do, complete this sentence. I would live more freely if I no longer believed ... What is it? What is it that you may still believe that is, it's basically clipped your wings, that's slowed you down or has stopped you in your tracks? What comes to mind? Perhaps it's I'm not worthy, or it could be, I have to please everyone. It might be I missed an opportunity. Some people, I have people in my life that feel that they have to be perfect to be accepted. So what's yours? What's your one thing that you can just real quickly bring to mind and think, okay, that is a limiting belief that I have imposed upon myself. So where did you learn this? And is it absolutely true? And then here's the big question. What has that belief cost you? What limitations has it imposed upon you? And then the last question for yourself on that. What spiritual truth is greater than that belief? So for example, maybe the old belief is I'm not enough. And the spiritual truth might be, I am an individualized expression of God, endowed with everything I need for my unfolding. Doesn't that feel better? Rather than I'm not enough, but oh my gosh, I am all that and more? Because in truth, we don't have the verbal capacity to express the wonder and awe of who we truly are in this divine expression. If an old belief is I cannot change, the new truth could be divine life is renewing me and I am always capable of growth. Oh, that feels so much better. Opening up the possibilities that are available in every season of our life. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, and they would always take us on field trips, about every year, every other year. They would take us up to the Brookfield Zoo, which is up in northern part of Chicago. It was the first zoo in the country, and maybe even in the world, that did not use cages and bars. They had pits and glass and all that kind of stuff, so you didn't really have an obstructed view. And I always loved going when we would go to the zoo because it was magnificent. And I remember going into the elephant house, and you'd see the big elephants, and they would be there, and they'd be kind of doing their sway that they do. And I would look, and each one of them would either have a chain or a rope around one of their legs. And sometimes it wasn't attached to anything, which I found kind of interesting. I thought, well, if they decide to come through or come over that pit, they're going to be here because there's nothing really stopping them. But here's what I've found out about that. While small, they would attach that young elephant to a rope and put it in a stake in the ground. And so while small, the elephant, they weren't able to pull themselves free. And they eventually gave up and stopped trying. And so they just accepted the fact that this rope around my leg stops me from moving anywhere. Well, when the elephant is fully grown and even powerful, that same small rope is probably enough to keep it in place. Not because the rope is stronger than the elephant, but because the elephant still believes that freedom is impossible because of that tether. And how many times have we put ourselves in that place? Many of us have spiritual and emotional ropes like that. We remain constrained by the conclusions that we formed when we had fewer resources, when we had less understanding, when we had less power. So the question is not whether we should blame ourselves for believing that rope was strong, but the question is whether we're willing to test it now. Are we willing to pull against it? Are we willing to test to see if we are truly constrained or if it is something that we have convinced ourselves is true? What step would you take if you believed that divine wisdom would guide you? What conversation would you have if you believed that your voice mattered? What dream would you revisit if you believed that it wasn't too late? Is there a boundary that you would establish if you believed that, your well-being was sacred? Sometimes, it's not necessarily that we believe something that limits us, but maybe we believe that we have to be all things to all people all the time, and it depletes us and it drains us, and we don't ever take that time that we need to sustain ourselves. So it is a practice of awareness, recognizing, gratitude, and releasing. Releasing, it's a practice. We sometimes imagine release as a single dramatic event, a moment. We do burning bowl services in many unity churches across the country, across the globe, and so that's a single dramatic moment that we use to release things. And occasionally it works. Occasionally we let it go and it's gone. But more often, it's a practice. And practice means that we do it again and again and again because we're still striving to get there with it. The old thought arises and we say, I recognize you, relief, I recognize you, thought, but I no longer give you the authority to control and manage and direct my life. And it rises again, and we do it again. It's not failure that we have to keep doing it. It's part of our practice. Imagine if you're out in a field and there's a path, but you decide that you want to create a new path. That old path is easy. It's easy to follow because it's been walked many times. We've been down that path so many times. But the new path, especially initially when we're first starting it requires conscious attention. Each time we choose it, though, it becomes more clear. It becomes easier to navigate. As we take those new steps forward, we're creating that new path. And this is where affirmative prayer and meditation, journaling, counseling, the spiritual community that you have, honest conversations, those can all help us create that new inner pathway to really becoming who we're here to be, to having the freedom to express as that divine essence that we are. Sometimes even seeking professional help is needed when we are having that experience of a lack of faith. But see, I love this idea because therapists and physicians and counselors and support groups, they're all spiritual companions. They can all be channels through which divine wisdom and healing operate. There's never anything like that to be ashamed of because we are taking action to become our best selves. So this week, I'd like to ask you to practice 3 simple movements. We want to recognize, release, and replace. Recognize the limiting thought without condemnation. This is an old belief. It's not my identity. Or if we want to speak it in the language of the 4 agreements, this was an old agreement that I made at the time and it supported me. But it's not an agreement that I want to continue to keep. Release. We take a deep breath and we say, I release the need to carry this belief into my future. I release the need to hold on to this, to hold this agreement, to live into this, to hold this as a truth in my consciousness, because it is not that. And then the last one is to replace. Choose a spiritual truth. Divine love supports me. Wisdom guides me. New possibilities are opening. So we know that's why we have denials and affirmations. If we deny something power, we want to make sure that we set up where we want the power to be as part of our practices, as part of our experience, and in our consciousness. So divine love supports me, wisdom guides me, and new possibilities are opening. You know, we're not using affirmations to suppress emotions or to pretend everything's fine. You know, that's a misunderstanding of folks outside of unity when they hear about denials and affirmations. They think, oh, you're just using that to cover it up. You know, it's kind of that fake it till you make it stuff. No, that's not what we're doing. We're using spiritual truth to create a larger inner space in which our emotions can be honored and healing can unfold. And so as I begin to close us out for today, for the talk, I want you to remember, you're not the worst thing that has happened to you. You're not the most painful mistake. You're not another person's opinion of you. Something that I say all the time, and actually a congregant made me a framed picture of this. What other people think of me is none of my business. And it's the same for you. What other people think of you is none of your business. Let it go, because what you think of you is what counts. You know? You're not frightened of the conclusion you formed many years ago. We just let it go. You know, you are the living expression of God. Divine life is within you. Divine wisdom is guiding you. Divine love is healing you. And that Christ light or divine light is revealing the truth of who you are and who you have always been. So I want to share the affirmation with you one more time. I release all limiting beliefs and embrace the healing power of divine love. I am whole, healed, and free to live as the fullest expression of my true self. My true self. Oh, and that's where we are. And so I got a piece of, another piece of music that I want to play for you. Let's see, did I get us in the wrong? No, I got another piece of music. And then we're going to, well, I'm going to skip through that. Sorry, folks. We're going to prepare us for meditation. So I'm going to do a share. Let me get everything set here so that it shares properly. And maybe we don't get the weird little glitch. Okay. So if you would, just become still. We just become still. If you're comfortable, close your eyes or soften your gaze. And take a slow, gentle breath in. And release it. And again, breathe in peace. And breathe out tension. Allow your body to settle into the chair that is supporting you. Relax your shoulders. Soften the muscles around your eyes and your jaw. And just let your hands rest easily wherever they are. And bring your attention to that quiet center within you. The sacred place where divine love is always present. And silently affirm, divine love is here. Divine love is within me. Divine love surrounds and supports me. And now, if you would, imagine a warm, gentle light just glowing within your heart. It's not a light that you have to create. It's a light of your divine nature, the Christ presence or divine presence that has always lived within you. So with tenderness, become aware of just one belief that you're ready to release. And you don't have to force it. Just simply allow a word or a phrase or a feeling. Allow it to arise in your consciousness. Perhaps it's a belief that you're not enough, or that you have to remain small for people to like you or to care about you. Or perhaps it's a belief that your past determines your future. I invite you to observe this belief without judgment, without any disdain, and then silently say to yourself, I see this old belief. I honor the ways I once tried to protect myself. I no longer need this story to define me. And just imagine placing the belief into the light of divine love. See the light surrounding it, not fighting it, but gently transforming it, infusing it. And as you out, affirm, I release. And as you breathe in, affirm, I receive divine truth. I release the belief that I am unworthy. And I receive the truth that I am a beloved expression of God. I release the belief that I'm powerless. And I receive the truth that divine strength lives within me. I release the belief that it's too late. And I receive the truth that new possibilities are present right now. As we enter a time of silence, in the silence, just allow divine love to reveal the truth your soul is ready to receive. Have an awareness of the truth of who you are. As we go into the silence, open your heart to receive into the silence. Now I invite you to gently return your attention to your breath. Feel the light within your heart. Just feel it expanding throughout your body. Filling every thought and every cell with peace. And silently affirm to yourself, my mind is renewed. My heart is open. My past is released. And divine love is healing me now. And open your hearts to receiving the affirmation for the month as I repeat it one more time. I release all limiting beliefs and embrace the healing power of divine love. I am whole, healed, and free to live as the fullest expression of my true self. And so I invite you to take one more deep breath. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes, carrying this truth into your day and throughout your week. And so it is. Amen. And so I bless you, and I'm so happy that I got to share this time with you and be present with you. And so now is the time that we do our offertory time. And so I'm going to put the slide up that has our offertory information for those of you that are on Zoom. And if you're at home watching this after the fact, these are the ways that you can support Unity of Tacoma. And so just follow these opportunities in order to support this, the mission and the vision and the programs that this wonderful ministry takes part of. And while you're contemplating all that, we have another piece of music for you. And so I'll go ahead and just bring that on through.
I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought I have the power to change my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought I have the power to change my life. And if you ask me who am I am wisdom, I am light, I am more than meets the eye, I cannot be defined. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought I have the power to change my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought I have the power to change my life. And if you ask me what am I am beauty, I am joy, I am more than meets the eye, I cannot be defined. I am the thinker who thinks the thoughts that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thoughts I have the power to change my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thoughts I have the power to change my life. I can choose to be the light that brightens someone's darkest night. I'm so much more than meets the eye, I cannot be defined. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thoughts I have the power to change my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thoughts
And yes, you do. You have that power. Weird little technical things going on today. So anyhow, you have that power. And now, we'll go ahead and close out our time. And let's see, I believe I have the right piece of music for you for your closing.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God our Creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.